friends, welcome back to Food Prep Guide. We are cooking up our pork meals in jars today. We're going to take you along and show you how we cooked up each of the 5 meals in jars and tried to make them stretch for our family of 5, either for a quick lunch or a quick supper. Let's get started. In case you haven't heard, we have a Meals in Jars canning cookbook coming soon, and in the description box of this video you will find a link to the landing page for that. You can sign up on the wait list to be notified of its release, and when you do, you'll be automatically entered into our giveaway where we will choose one winner to win a free copy of the cookbook. If you're watching this video at a later date, it's possible the cookbook is already available. If that's the case, you'll be able to access that book in the same link in that same description box. If you're new here, we invite you to subscribe and hit that notification bell so you don't miss any of our upcoming tutorials on canning, cooking, food storage, and gardening. This first recipe is our Mississippi pork roast, and I am telling y'all, if you have never had a Mississippi roast, you need to go get you some pork or beef. You can do this with beef too. You can even do like a Mississippi chicken. We've done that in our crock pot before as well. It is the flavors that is inside the jar that pairs well with either pork, beef, or even chicken. But basically we're just going to pop open the lid, dump it in a pot, get that heating up, and then we need about 2 tablespoons of our dry ranch seasoning. You can certainly use one of those packets from the store. That's just our homemade mix. Has some dill and buttermilk powder and all of that in there. And just give that a good stir, and then I bring the heat to about medium low and let that simmer. And for this particular recipe, the way that we're going to stretch it is just to serve it alongside multiple side dishes. So we decided to do mashed potatoes and peas. And this is just one way that I like to stretch a meal without having to add, without having to serve it over like rice or pasta. We can just serve it alongside multiple side dishes and a side salad, and then that allows us to serve kind of a smaller portion of the meat to help that stretch. This is one of my children's plates, and that you can see about the portion sizes that each one of them got. But this is an absolute favorite of ours, and just like we did with a previous video, we have our scorecards where I score each meal at 10 out of 10, or on a scale of 1 to 10. 1 being we will never make it again, 10 being it is absolutely delicious, and of course, Mississippi pork roast gets a 10 out of 10. Okay, next recipe is our just barbecue pork. Now you can absolutely make this, just dump it in a pot, heat it up, and serve it on top of some slider buns for some barbecue, just a quick barbecue dinner. And we love doing that because we have a canned coleslaw starter that we do, which makes it super easy to get coleslaw ready on the table to go in like 5 minutes. But for this particular recipe, I really wanted to stretch it, so we are doing barbecue quesadillas. This is one of my absolute favorite ways to stretch meals, is simply inside of a quesadilla tortilla shell or a taco or a burrito. Now, since I'm doing quesadillas, I decided to go ahead and add a half pint of our pickled peppers. I did these pickled peppers this year because we had an incredible just bumper crop of peppers. They just kept on coming. And I have been missing out on pickled peppers my whole life. These are so good. If you missed that video, I will link it down in the description box below of how we made those. But basically, just bring it up to a boil, and then we're ready to get started on our quesadillas. If you have never cooked quesadillas in a cast iron pan, I highly recommend it because it really gets a good golden crust on it. The very first quesadilla that I make usually doesn't have that perfect goldeny crust, but I have 5 people in my household, so I'm making 5 to 6 quesadillas each time. And after that first quesadilla, the pan is heated up enough to where it is just a beautiful golden crust that I just cannot get on our regular skillets. But y'all know how to make quesadillas. I mean, I just sprinkled on some cheese, put on the barbecue filling. I normally like to do a sauce on the bottom of the tortilla before we do the cheese. But since this was a barbecue recipe, and of course it was in a barbecue sauce, I didn't want to compete with that sauce too much. But the sauce that we normally put on our quesadillas is a mixture of equal parts sour cream and mayonnaise, and then mixed with taco seasoning. And it makes a very delicious sauce. Here's how it looked. This is one of our favorite meals. Like I said, we will put all sorts of meals in jars and consider it a quesadilla filling. Of course, 10 out of 10, what's not to love about a quesadilla? Okay, next recipe is our Hungarian pork. This is the one that I was most excited about trying, and I have to say it did not disappoint. But once again, we're just going to, it's hard to open up one of these jars one-handed. I've got a camera in one hand trying to open it in the other. Another thing I want to mention is you do, if you possible, want to can these in wide mouth jars. You can see here it's hard to get out, but in my canner, in order to fit 5 jars, I have to have 3 of them be regular mouth, so that's why. But it comes out easy enough with a spatula. So for this recipe, I ended up serving it over some mashed potatoes. We actually had a commenter on the pork meals in jars video who said that they were Hungarian, and so they knew that culture really well, obviously, and they said the potatoes are a really important part of the Hungarian dish. And so I decided, since I didn't have potatoes inside the dish, that I would just serve it over top mashed potatoes. I accidentally took this clip in the wrong kind of format, but I inserted a still shot here in just a minute so you could see how it looked. It was incredible, absolutely incredible. I am going to be loading my shelves with this next time pork goes on sale. Okay, next recipe is our Chipotle pork. And again, we're just going to pop this open, get it in a pan, bring it to a boil. These meals in jars, this is what I love so much about having meals in jars on my shelf, is it really is as simple as opening the jar and pouring it in. And if you're trying to make it stretch for multiple people, then it's just a matter of choosing your starch that you want to pair it with. This Chipotle pork, I had let's see, we did a venison chipotle earlier, and we served it over this beefy rice, as you can see here, and it was so good. So I did the same thing. This was a meal in jar rice dish that we made together on camera, and it's just an equal amount of water for the amount of rice that you put in. So in this case, 2 cups of rice, 2 cups of water, and then I always put a pat of butter in with my rice. Give that a good stir. I love cooking up the rice in my Instant Pot, and put it on airtight, and then pressure cook it for 8 minutes. You can certainly cook your rice on a stovetop as well, using your regular traditional rice cooking methods. But this beefy rice is just a really good flavor pairing with both of those chipotles that we tried. We did the chipotle venison and the chipotle pork, and this beefy rice was absolutely delicious. Once it comes to a boil, it's ready to serve. I did not get a clip of me plating this chipotle pork over the rice, but that's what we did. We served it as a rice bowl, and as you can see, it just looks so good. I feel like I can smell it through the screen, but that's probably because I just ate it recently. But it's really good. That chipotle pepper adds just enough flavor without being too terribly spicy. We did have a kiddo who did not like it, but he's really sensitive to like really strong flavored foods, so that's kind of understandable. Okay, last but not least is our pork chili, and I didn't do anything fancy with this. I was thinking about doing a cornbread casserole, which I've done in the past, and that is basically I cook up a skillet of cornbread, and then instead of just serving the cornbread, I will crumble up, let it come to a room temperature so I don't burn my hands, but then crumble up that cornbread inside of a 9x13 casserole dish, and then pour the chili on top of it. And that is an excellent, excellent way to stretch a small pot of chili. But for this, all we did was serve this for lunch. It was just me and my 3 kiddos. So it served a nice lunch portion for 4 people. We topped it with sour cream and cheese, just like we do all of our chili dishes. And it was okay. You know what? I gave it a 6 out of 10. It just needed some more seasonings. That's it for today, y'all. Hope that was helpful. Stay tuned for the future Meals in Jars videos. Bye!